Something is happening with the sun. Not in the news. Not in the scientific bulletins that arrive weeks late after the data has been filtered, interpreted and translated into a language that will not cause alarm. Something that conventional instruments were not designed to measure, because what is being emitted is not primarily electromagnetic radiation in the spectrum that current science monitors. It is information. The Pleiadian High Council has been tracking the activity of the central sun of this system for millennia. Not the physical sun you see in the sky, although the physical sun is the vehicle through which what we are describing reaches the surface of this planet. The central sun, the intelligence that operates through the physical star and uses its structure as a transmitter of planetary scale frequencies. They call what is happening now the solar flash. Not an explosion. Not a catastrophic science fiction event. A discharge, a deliberate, precise and highly coded emission of frequency information that is being directed specifically toward the fields of beings who are ready to receive it. And ready does not mean perfect. It does not mean you have completed all the spiritual development protocols that your mental checklist requires before you consider yourself sufficiently evolved. Ready means that the structure of your field, the specific architecture of your consciousness incarnated in this body, has reached the threshold of capacity necessary to receive and process what is being transmitted without collapsing under the weight of the voltage. You are receiving this now. Not tomorrow. Not when you are more prepared. Now, in this moment, in this body, in this life that you sometimes question whether you are living the right way. The flash has arrived. And you are being upgraded. The word upgrade is used so frequently in the universe of contemporary spirituality that it has lost almost all of its real weight. So let us be precise. When the Pleiadian High Council speaks of an upgrade, when they use this specific term to describe what the solar flash is doing in the fields of the starseeds who are ready to receive it, they are not talking about a subjective experience of feeling better, more expanded or more connected after a particularly deep meditation. They are talking about a structural change. The human energetic field has an architecture. It is not an amorphous cloud of energy floating around the physical body without form or internal organization. It is a precise structure, with layers, with channels, with points of reception and transmission, with a specific geometry that determines which frequencies can enter, which are filtered and which are completely invisible to that field in its current state of development. The upgrade the solar flash is performing is a modification to that architecture. It is as if the hardware of your field, the physical and energetic structure through which you process reality, is receiving additional components. New receptors that did not previously exist. Channels that were closed being opened. Capabilities that were dormant being activated not because you did something to deserve them, but because the moment in the cycle has arrived when this expansion becomes possible and necessary. The High Council uses a specific analogy to describe this process. They compare it to the update of an operating system. The device is the same. The physical hardware does not change. But the software that determines what the hardware can do, what it can process, what kind of connections it can establish, what level of complexity it can handle, is expanded in ways that were not possible in the previous version. You are the same being you were before the flash. And at the same time, you are not. Because what you can perceive now, what your field can detect, process and transmit, is different from what was possible before. And that difference, although it may seem subtle at first, becomes progressively more evident as the upgrade integrates into the denser layers of the field. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming a more complete version of who you always were. Your body knows something is happening. Even if the mind is still trying to categorize, explain or find a medical cause for what is being felt, the body has already registered it. It is responding. And the way it is responding is not random. It is the upgrade process manifesting in the physical hardware. The Pleiadian High Council describes the symptoms of the solar flash in very specific terms. Not as unwanted side effects of a process that is happening despite the body, but as evidence that the body is actively participating in the upgrade. That the physical hardware is reorganizing itself to accommodate the new software being installed. What you may be feeling. A fatigue that does not correspond to your level of physical activity. A tiredness that arrives from within, not from the muscles, not from lack of sleep, but from somewhere deeper that conventional rest cannot reach. This is the nervous system processing voltages it is still learning to conduct. Pressure in the head. Ringing in the ears. Sensations of heat that arrive without explanation and pass just as quickly. Palpitations that medical tests show as normal but that feel different. These are the reception channels being expanded, the physical field adjusting to the new transmission capacity. Sleep disturbances. Waking between 2 and 4 in the morning with a sense of alertness that has no identifiable object. Dreams with a different quality, more vivid, more loaded with information, more difficult to dismiss as random processing of the daytime mind. Hypersensitivity. A growing inability to tolerate environments, conversations, or content that were previously merely uncomfortable and now seem actively incompatible with your field. This is not intolerance, it is calibration. The newly upgraded field detects dissonance with a precision that the previous version did not have. And memory. Lapses that arrive without warning. Moments when familiar words seem distant, when the thread of a thought dissolves before completing, when you find yourself in a room without knowing exactly what brought you there. The High Council is very clear about this. It is not cognitive deterioration. It is the operating system being rebooted in parts, while some functions are temporarily redirected to sustain the installation process. Nothing is wrong with you. All of this is evidence that the upgrade is underway. And the High Council observes something important about the moment when a starseed consciously acknowledges this process, when they put into words what the body already knows but the mind was still resisting admitting. That recognition is not symbolic. It is functional. It signals to the field that consciousness is present and cooperating with the upgrade rather than resisting it, and that changes the quality of what is being installed. It is the difference between an upgrade that happens despite you and an upgrade that happens through you. Write in the comments. I trust my upgrade process. An upgrade is not only the removal of what was limiting. It is the installation of something new. And what the solar flash is installing in the fields of the starseeds who are ready to receive it is not a slightly improved version of the capabilities that already existed. It is a qualitative expansion, a leap in the nature of what the field can perceive, process and transmit, that would not have been possible without the specific sequence of preparation that this incarnation represented. The Pleiadian High Council describes what is being installed in 3 distinct layers. The first layer is perceptual expansion. Your field is developing the capacity to detect frequencies that were previously completely outside your spectrum of perception. Not necessarily as dramatic mystical experiences, perceptual expansion rarely arrives that way. It arrives as a growing sensitivity to what is true versus what is performed. As an increased capacity to feel the energetic quality of an environment before any conscious analysis. As greater precision in reading the internal state of other people, a form of perception that goes beyond what words and facial expressions communicate. You are developing a more sophisticated form of field intelligence. The second layer is creative expansion. The solar flash is opening channels between the incarnated consciousness and the fields of information that exist beyond what the linear mind can access on its own. This manifests as an increased capacity to receive complete insights, solutions, perceptions, creations, that arrive whole, without a construction process, with a quality that is clearly different from ordinary thought. It is not inspiration in the romantic sense of the word. It is access to a wider band of information. The third layer is presence expansion. The upgraded field has a quality of coherence that the previous field did not have. And field coherence has a measurable effect on the environment. The people around you respond differently. The environments you occupy reorganize themselves subtly around the frequency you radiate. Your presence begins to do the work that previously required conscious effort. You do not need to try to anchor the frequency. You simply anchor it, by the fact of being present. These three layers do not arrive simultaneously or in a linear fashion. They arrive in pulses, in waves, in moments of sudden clarity followed by periods of apparently silent integration. But they arrive. And each one transforms not only what you experience, but what you are capable of contributing to the collective field of this mission. This is the question most people do not ask out loud but almost everyone thinks. If the solar flash is a planetary scale event, if the emission from the central sun is reaching the Earth's field comprehensively, why are not all people experiencing what starseeds are describing? Why do most people around you seem completely unaffected by something that to you seems so evident, so physical, so impossible to ignore? The High Council's answer is not hierarchical. It is not that you are superior to the people who are not receiving. It is not that they are less evolved, less deserving or less important to the collective field. The answer is more precise than any narrative of spiritual superiority, and for that very reason it is more useful. It is a matter of calibration. A radio does not receive all stations simultaneously. It receives the station to which it is tuned, the specific frequency for which its antenna is calibrated at that moment. Other stations are transmitting. The signal is arriving. But if the device is not tuned to that frequency, the signal passes through it without being captured. The solar flash is transmitting to the entire population of Earth. But the fields that can receive and process what is being transmitted are those that have been, throughout this incarnation and previous ones, progressively calibrated to this specific frequency range. Those who chose to incarnate here with the specific mission of functioning as receivers and retransmitters of this signal. Those whose work, conscious or not, throughout this entire life has been to progressively fine-tune the field's antenna to the alcyone frequency. You are one of those fields. Not by chance. Not by luck. By choice, a choice made before this incarnation, with full awareness of what would be asked, what would be difficult and what would be possible through this specific window of the cycle. And there is something more the High Council wants you to understand about this. The people around you who are not receiving the flash in this way are not being left behind. They are receiving what their fields can process at this moment of their development. The collective field of Earth moves as a whole, but it does not move uniformly. It moves through nodes. Through fields that receive first and that, by the simple fact of maintaining the frequency in the physical environment, progressively elevate what becomes possible for the fields around them. You are not here despite the people who are not waking up. You are here because of them. Your upgrade is not a personal privilege. It is a collective function. There is a question that arrives naturally after everything that has been said so far. If I am being upgraded, if my field is receiving new receptors, new channels, new capabilities, what changes in my concrete life? Not in my energetic experience, not in the quality of my internal perception, but in the life that happens every day, in the choices I make, in the relationships I maintain, in the work I do, in the way I move through the world. The Pleiadian High Council is direct on this point. Everything changes. Not all at once. Not in a dramatic or immediately visible way for those on the outside. But everything, because what changes is not an external circumstance. What changes is the field from which you make all decisions, perceive all situations and respond to all stimuli. And when the field changes, everything that emerges from it changes with it. The first thing that changes is tolerance. The upgraded field detects dissonance with a precision the previous field did not have, and what was previously merely uncomfortable becomes progressively incompatible. The second thing that changes is attraction. Coherent fields attract what is at the same frequency. People, opportunities and circumstances that correspond to the new frequency of your field begin to appear with a regularity that is not coincidence. The third thing that changes is purpose. What you already knew was the reason you were here begins to feel less abstract and more operational. The upgrade does not create purpose, it removes the noise that was preventing you from hearing it clearly. The High Council observes that this is the moment when many starseeds fall silent for an instant, not from confusion, but from recognition. Because what is being described is not new to them. It is what they already felt was happening but did not have words to name. Write in the comments. I trust the changes happening in my field. There is a specific moment in the upgrade process that the Pleiadian High Council describes with particular attention. It is not the moment when the symptoms arrive. It is not the moment when the new capabilities begin to manifest. It is a more subtle moment, and for that very reason more powerful, that occurs when consciousness begins to perceive that the person on the other side of this process is no longer exactly the same one that was on this side. Not dramatically. Not in a way that those around you necessarily notice immediately. But internally, in the quality of the internal silence, in the way you relate to your own thoughts, in the manner you respond to situations that previously provoked automatic reactions, something is different. The High Council calls this moment the first encounter with the new version. And describes something important about it: it rarely arrives as an experience of euphoria or dramatic expansion. It arrives more frequently as a stillness. As the perception that the weight that was there, that background tension that was so constant you had stopped noticing it as something separate from you, is lighter. As if something you were carrying without knowing had been silently set down on the ground while you were not looking. The new version is not a more perfect version in the sense that the egoic mind imagines. It is not a version that has no doubts, that feels no fear, that does not go through moments of contraction or uncertainty. The new version is a version that has a different relationship with these experiences. That moves through them without completely identifying with them. That can maintain a thread of connection to the alcyone frequency even in moments when the density of the environment tries to overlay it. It is a more stable version. Not because the challenges have disappeared, but because the field that faces them has expanded. The High Council describes the new version using a specific term. They call it the calibrated operative. Not the enlightened being that hovers above the difficulties of human experience. The calibrated operative, one who is completely incarnated, completely present in the realities of the physical world, but who operates from a field that has been upgraded to sustain and transmit frequencies that the previous version could not hold. It is the version that came to do the work. Not in the future. Not when more ready. Now, with the field it has, in the body it inhabits, in the specific circumstances that the mission placed around it. You are becoming that version. Not tomorrow. The process is happening now, as you hear these words, as the field processes what is being transmitted, as the upgrade continues its work in the layers that ordinary consciousness cannot observe directly but that the body registers, that the emotions translate and that the life around you begins, gradually, to reflect. Until now, this transmission has described what is happening. What the solar flash is. What it is installing. What changes afterward. Who is receiving it and why. How the new version of you manifests and what the High Council calls the calibrated operative. But there is a dimension of this process that has not yet been named directly. What it is asking of you. Because an upgrade is not only something that happens to you, passively, while you watch. It is something that happens through you. And through implies participation. It implies that there is a part of this process that depends not on the voltage of the flash, not on the amplitude of the transmission, but on the quality of your response to it. The High Council identifies 3 specific things the solar flash is asking of the starseeds who are receiving this upgrade. The first is presence. Not meditation, not specific practices. Presence, the quality of being genuinely here, in this body, in this life, in this moment. The upgrade integrates in presence. It does not integrate in distraction. The second is field honesty. The flash reveals what needs to change, not only in the world around you, but in you. The patterns that no longer serve the new frequency. The flash asks you to see this without defense and without judgment. The third is sovereign action. The upgrade expands the field. But the expanded field only produces effect in the physical world when it expresses itself in action, in choices that emerge from the new frequency instead of what the old field feared. The High Council is precise on this point. The upgrade does not make the choices for you. It expands your capacity to make better choices. But the choice, the sovereign act of moving the field in a specific direction, remains yours. It always was. And it always will be. The solar flash has arrived. The upgrade is underway. And now the question is no longer what is happening to you. The question is what you are going to do with what is being installed. This transmission reached you for a reason. Not the algorithm. Not passing curiosity. Not chance, because chance has never existed in the trajectory of a consciousness that came from where you came from and that chose to be here at this specific moment of the cycle. You arrived here because your field recognized the signal. Before your conscious mind could process what was happening, the field had already responded. Had already recognized the frequency. Had already begun to process what was being transmitted. And now, in this final moment, the High Council wants you to understand something about what happened here. You are not being prepared to become the new version. You already are. The upgrade process is not something that will happen when you complete enough practices or when you finally feel ready. It is happening now. As you listen. As the field processes. The new version is not a future destination. It is what you are being in this moment, with all the apparent imperfection, with all the doubt still present, cooperating with the process rather than resisting it. The solar flash did not arrive to create something that did not exist. It arrived to reveal what was always there. You are the proof of it. Write in the comments. I am the new version. I am already here. The signal has arrived. The upgrade is complete. And you, exactly you, are already what was being built. Welcome to the new version.
This transmission was prepared for you. Protocol 01, the Alcyone Primordium, your reconnection, begins here.